It's 23 minutes to 7 in the evening in Newcastle, Australia. It's 23 minutes to 10 in Manchester, England. And this is the only place in the world where State of Origin surprises ring loud as order of the day. And if I were in a £5 million hole, I would rather face liquidation than suffer the embarrassment that is the Salford Red Devils. Yes, this is the Sideline Chat podcast, the one-stop shop for rugby league. Along with Mark Hendry, I'm Conor Marcellus, and tonight it is your look at round 12 of the NRL Telstra Premiership. The first mass buy round is here, so we don't have 8 games as we usually do. We're only down to 5, but nevertheless, still some mouth-watering matchups right here. Starting off on Thursday Night Football with the Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs taking on the Dolphins.
In teams that are both affected by Origin, both have, Blues have got 3 players out, and I also believe the Dolphins have got 3 players out due to Origin as well. But they could gain 1 back ahead of this match. Well, in saying that, the Dolphins have got Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow out, so Jake Averillo will cover him at fullback. Max Fiene comes into the centres for his debut game. Tom Gilbert is out to a pec. Connolly Lemu is promoted to starting side. Oren Keeley's been added to the bench. And I'm going to get this wrong. Fine Funuaki has been selected for Queensland, but he's expected to play on Thursday. And Sean O'Sullivan is listed as 18th man yet again.
Meantime, for the Dogs, a couple of casualties both on the injury front and also, respectively, Origin call-ups as well. So a rejigged backline, Blake Wilson and Blake Taft, the 2 Blakes right there, coming into the backline for Jacob Kiraz and Stephen Crichton. Of course, Kiraz, unfortunately, out for at least the next month and a half with the calf injury. Blake Taft coming in for the skipper, Stephen Crichton. In the forwards, a new-look front-row rotation with Reid Marnie, with Lipoi, Hopoi, and the returning Josh Curran making up the new front row combination, with Kurt Mann also out due to State of Origin commitments as 18th man. Bailey Haywood comes in at lock forward, with Sam Hughes also returning from injury, joining Jake Turpin as the fresh 2 men on the bench. Now, what about these Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs, right? I'm loving what we're doing at the moment.
Well, that's just you being biased. Well, not biased, but yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I have to agree with you with that. They are going superior this season.
This is going to be the next man up mentality for us at the moment, right? Because we came back once again, had to come back, fight our way back into the game against the Sydney Roosters after being down at least 14-0 at one stage, to come back and win that game 24-20.
But Dolphins, it was a close game, though.
Oh, it was. Dolphins, they went bang into 8 minutes in the second half late, try and get back within 4 of the Warriors, but they couldn't close that game out.
So, no. And it was in Brisbane again. It just shows who can, like the Dogs are literally the comeback kings in 2025. No one else has come back from more deficits at half time than what the Bulldogs have. And I believe the Bulldogs have scored 90 plus points combined in the second half compared to the first half totals.
It's incredible. Now, the Dolphins will have a massive readjustment in the spine. Jake Averillo dropping into fullback with no hammer. That's a big blow for their attack because he is their linchpin when it comes to those sweeping backline plays or even trying to open them up through the middle as well. Isaiah Katoa, Toby Sexton, 2 halfbacks who maybe not in the conversation for Origin in years to come, given their relative age. But at the moment, you're going to give Toby Sexton the edge when it comes to that halfback at the moment. Just at club level, we've seen differences in the 2 players. I mean, like, you got Katoa who can produce the moments when they got out on the roll early, but where is he in the gritty moments? Like in those games, like against the Warriors, where they were trailing throughout that entire match. They did not look likely of wrestling the lead away from the Warriors, I would say. You look at Toby Sexton on the other side, he was able to steer not 1, but 2 comeback victories in the last 3 weeks, justifying why Canterbury are top of the ladder at the moment.
I think it just comes down to the experience of what each player has. Like, Sexton's been around for, 6, 7 years.
He got his start in 2021.
Oh,
Derailed in 2022. Joined Canterbury midway through 2023, and he's been with us for 2.5 years now.
Well, in total, 4 years. I was a bit far off the board there, but he's had that more experience. He's had experienced players alongside like Kieran Foran when he's at the Gold Coast Titans. Isaiah Katoa, though, he's only burst on the scene really basically last season onwards. So he's yet to develop more as a halfback, and he hasn't really had experienced 5/8s with him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So as Isaiah Katoa's career progresses, he'll get better and better. He'll be able to be there to finish off those games. Example against the Warriors.
No, don't get me wrong. The Dolphins still have a massive forward pack to work with. Frank Moller's really come on for the Finns since he got the start after moving up from the Dragons. And the rate that Canterbury's pack has still been decimated, but the fact that we haven't had Josh Curran for a long period of time, Sam Hughes will play his first game off the bench if he holds up. But the fact that the next man mentality has meant that no matter how many players we lose, either to injury or enforced through suspension, we're still there. We're still turning up. We're rocking up. And that is really, I think, been the emphasis that Cameron Ciraldo has really worked with.
Well, in saying that, though, Penrith in the years gone by used to be like that. Next cab off the rank, up they go, and they still manage to win. Now the Bulldogs are doing that, and Penrith aren't. Did Ciraldo just wait for the right time to play that Penrith rulebook after being there for, 2-3 years as an assistant, if not more?
And this will actually be the Dolphins' first game at a core stadium as well.
Ever?
I believe it is,
in their 3 years.
This is their third season, the first time they've ever visited Homebush.
Not even against Souths?
Not even against Souths.
Wow.
So,
didn't that
the road
Souths game get moved earlier in the year as opposed to being Brisbane?
Cyclone Alfred, that's a different matter. But
yeah, but still.
Look, Dolphins still got a very big forward pack, and they still got some good strike out wide as well. Jermaine Asako, Jack Bostock, especially Herbie Farnworth. Expect Christian Wolf to really try and bring Farnworth into the game as much as possible. And for Blake Taft, not exactly an NRL centre by trade, he's going to be under a lot of pressure all night with the Dolphins' left edge trying to throw everything down their way. But
absolutely.
I think the Bulldogs still come out on top here. Believe it or not, I still have faith in my boys to try and win 4 straight games heading into our second bye of the year. I think it'll be back down to our defence. The next man mentality will be a big part of that. But I just think we have not yet lost to the Dolphins. That's the other thing. We're the only side in 3 seasons who has not lost to the Dolphins. And everyone else has lost now.
And you guys have played them already once this season, believe it or not. Am I correct?
No, we have not played the Dolphins yet. This is our first meeting at home. I think we're going to get another 30,000 people out to a core stadium for this one. At least I hope 30,000 would be a good number for
I think that will be the average crowd for the Dogs home games this year.
But look, I'm going to back our defence. I would be looking at Matt Burton and Toby Sexton to really try and amp up the game and try and get on the front foot this time. That's going to be the big thing. I think we get on the front foot of the Dolphins early. I think we'll set ourselves up for a strong defensive second half, which we really do need. So the Bulldogs, 1-6 winners.
The Hammer is the biggest loss for the Dolphins. I must admit that. Jake Averillo, he's not a bad player, but the quality of him to Hammer is next level. Dogs, as you know, could be next cab off the rank like they have been going all season with injuries and suspensions. I'm going to have to say the Bulldogs win this one 1-6.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think Canterbury just get out on top on this one. Now, moving on to Friday Night Football, we have a rematch of the old 80s feud between the Parramatta Eels and the Manly Sea Eagles. Of course, Manly, Daly Cherry Evans, once again called up to Origin. Jake Trbojevic, awful concussion.
That was horrible.
In that win against the Cowboys, surprisingly. Didn't have Manly
up in Townsville.
Didn't have that one pegged down, but it does work out for them. So Jazz Tabunga will shift from dummy half to loose forward. Jake Simpkin will start for Anthony Seibolt's side. Meantime, Matt Lodge and Lachlan Croker are the first 2 men on the interchange. In the case of Matt Lodge, this is actually his first NRL game since Manly's semi-final loss to the Roosters last year.
Bit of a long time between drinks, but then again, him being would have been playing reserve grade.
And while Hamole Olakawatu is in the Blues camp at the moment, the expectation is he will be released in time to play for Manly come Friday night.
As for the Eels, there's two big outs with Mitch Moses and Zach Lomax in the Blues camp. They won't be getting released back to the club beforehand. So that means Dean Hawkins comes in at halfback while Sean Russell goes to the wing and Jordan Sam Rainey goes to the centres. Kelma Tuolagi goes to the bench in place. He returns from suspension, pushing Luca Moretti to the bench. Matt Dury gets a spot on the bench after dropping back to NSW Cup last week. That sort of changes for Parramatta.
Now, this is going to be a very curious one. I should also mention Jake Arthur does start at halfback. So Arthur versus Dean Hawkins at reserve grade at some point during the season. Who do you think is a bigger loss? Is it Mitchell Moses for the Eels or is it Daly Cherry Evans for Manly?
Well, we know how Parramatta have gone this year without Mitch Moses out with that injury. They were absolutely horrendous. And then since he's come back, they've been there or thereabouts. Yes, they haven't won as many games, but they've been more in the fight compared to where they were at the start of the season. Cherry Evans has got that lot more of experience, and he knows how to steer a ship around. But in saying that too, Seagul's been hot and cold all year. So I personally think Parramatta will be more affected by losing Mitch Moses than what Manly will be losing Cherry Evans. And this could be the halves combo we see next year when Cherry Evans leaves.
No, it won't. Oh. Jamal Fogarty, you remember?
That's right.
They finally publicly announced Jamal Fogarty joining Manly. So, I don't know what you've been smoking. Maybe £500,000 that Salford are looking for, perhaps.
Probably.
But for me, Manly really tightened up the defence last week against the Cowboys. I mean, North Queensland didn't really offer that much to begin with. And the back rows really created a lot of opportunity. I mean, you had either Hamole Olakawatu bursting through, creating some room to get Jason Sup up into the backfield. And what about the try from Ben Trbojevic? How good was that try?
Unbelievable.
Honestly, they were able to really use the edge as well against North Queensland. And that was even with Daly Cherry Evans, who still has the confidence of Billy Slater to go out and do a job. And Manly, even though they slipped up, still in the top 8, but you'd have to say they're really clinging on at this point.
Absolutely, they are. And it's just that they're clinging on to the top 8 just because of results going into their favour. Other teams around them losing.
The challenge for Parramatta now, because they really relied on Lomax and Moses against the Knights up in Newcastle, their defence, and even though it's technically amongst the worst in the league, they really got a good mileage out of a good defensive performance on the road, even though it was against a below subpar Newcastle Knights
That's
team.
been generous calling them that.
So the real question for Jason Riles now is, where does the attack get sparked from now that he doesn't have Moses or he doesn't have Lomax?
Well, you have to say either Dylan Brown needs to step up or you get Leongi at fullback to really spark the attack. We know what he's capable of. Will Penasini's another one. Josh Adokar is another one. We all know what they are capable of doing. They just need to really click together and have your big forwards like Junior Powell or Jermaine Hopgood humming along nicely to really push that attack.
I'm looking at, doing that paper test, trying to measure up each player side by side, and I think who is actually better in their particular position and how the benches get utilised. Lachlan Croker coming back in is a big benefit to Manly, and a lightweight middle forward in Jazz Tabunga also really helps because now they don't lose anything despite Jake Trbojevic going down with that awful concussion, as I said. Now you've got Nathan Brown and Matthew Lodge coming off the bench that could really help support Olakawatu's efforts as well. You've got 3 hard-running forwards and a forward pack of 6 men.
It's really beefed it up for them.
And Croker adds an extra playmaking ability as well, which I think Parramatta lost that because, dependence on Moses, putting the kicks up for Lomax, really. And that's what Moses was really doing. Even if he wasn't doing the kicks, he was getting up in the face of Kalen Ponga and he was really applying Escher, trying to create things out wide for Lomax and Penasini on that right-hand edge. Try and do that against Tom Trbojevic. I would reckon 7 times out of 10 that doesn't actually come off. Of trying to put Trbojevic under pressure under the high ball, you're not going to have that same window to work with.
True, but we're going to get to see that at this stage, unless they meet again later on in the season.
It sort of is a hard knock for Parramatta because if they win, they can move away from the bottom 2. But if they lose, the Titans will get the bye and they'll go back to last on the ladder.
Yes, because the differential is Parramatta negative 99, Gold Coast negative 100. There's a point in it in a differential.
It's a hard knock,
but Parramatta have definitely improved.
And even though you get Jake Arthur coming in, you still got those twin in threats either side of the field where either kick it high for Jason Saab to out-jump Josh Adokar, or if they manage to bring Luke Brooks' running game really onto the ball, because I think you're going to see Brooks really try and amp up the running game as the senior playmaker. He's going to bring Hopewadi onto the ball, and he's going to bring Kohler onto the ball as well. And you do not want that left edge getting any open room down the Eels' right-hand side. It's hard to call, but I think I'm going to have to go with Manly on this one. I just think there's just too much punch in the forward pack for the Eels to handle. Even though they have been much improved since they last met back in round 4, I still think it's a Manly win, 7-12, and I think Kamole Olakawatu will really light it up and show Laurie Daly there. If any concerns in the back row arise, he's your next cab off the rank.
Look, I think Manly just got a bit more experience, and they're kind of more used to having players out due to Origin as years gone by, Trbojevic and Cherry Evans, and this is just Trbojevic at this. Cherry Evans at this stage. I'm gonna have to go Sea Eagles 1-6. I think it'll be another close game. Parramatta will be somewhat competitive, but Sea Eagles will just get it over the line.
Now, moving on to Saturday, we have 2 games. First up, it's the Penrith Panthers once again making their annual trip out to Bathurst, taking on the hapless and quickly fading Newcastle Knights side.
There's been changes, obviously, with Kalen Pollard out due to Origin. Fletcher Sharp goes back to his preferred position of fullback, you could say. Tyson Gamble goes to 5'8", then Jack Colgar is the half-back. Cole McCarthy into the centres as Dylan Lucas returns to the back row. Tom Cant goes to the bench. Leo Thompson is back from HIA last week, taking over from Jacob Safidi, who's out with a calf injury, with Hetherington being dropped back to the 18th man.
Meantime, Ivan Cleary has to manage a very, very delicate situation, considering he will have no Dylan Edwards, no Brian To'o, no Nathan Cleary, no Liam Martin, and especially Isaiah Yeo at lock forward. So with 5 men out for the Penrith Panthers through Origin alone,
all through New South Wales.
This is the situation instead. He's got Dane Laurie lining up at fullback now, a new look back line with Casey McLean and Tom Jenkins coming into the side now with no Brian To'o or Luke Garner for that matter. Blaze Talangi is at 5'8" still, with Brad Schneider now moving into halfback. New look back row combination. Lindsay Smith moves into start at lock forward with Preston Rickey and Liam Henry now up front. Matt Eisenhuth also comes into start alongside Moses Leota. And a new look bench, Luke Summerton, Austin Diaz, Luron Patea, and Jack Cole making up the rest of it as well. So mass changes for the Penrith Panthers. New look back row. Brad Schneider coming in is effectively the backup half for Nathan Cleary, as well as a very much a new look bench at the moment. But you still think that Penrith, all refreshed after the bye, they will just click like nothing's happened.
The rate they've been playing this season, though, doesn't convince me a lot that they'll click like nothing's happened. Years gone by, I would say yes. This year, I'm unsure. Like, you know how well they've been performing this season, which is very un-Penrith-like that we're being used to. I reckon they would hurt a little bit more this year during this Origin period than what they have done in years gone by.
Well, it also depends on the type of opposition they go up against. They were going,
this is very true.
Because the Newcastle Knights, where do you go when the ship's already sunk? Because this is not a sinking ship anymore.
No.
This is a sunken ship.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm looking at Adam O'Brien, and I know as many as just people would be calling for his head at the moment, the payout would be too much to try and walk away from.
Oh,
He
absolutely.
signed that
would
rich
be.
money extension through until the end of 2027. So you still have to pay him out in full. That's just the reality of the situation. But he has to find something at this point because the Knights are amongst the worst attacking teams at the moment, if not
Absolutely.
the worst attacking side. How could you not be desperate enough to consider, all right, maybe we do need Jackson Hastings back in the side?
You literally took the words out of my mouth. I was just thinking they need to bring Hastings back in. Forget all the off-field drama and whatever's happened on over there. They need to bring him in so he can steady his ship, have a steady halves combination with probably with this week.
Insert 5'8" here.
Yeah, whether that's Fletcher Sharp, Tyson Gamble.
But that's exactly been the problem. Unlike the Bulldogs, unlike the Panthers when they started putting wins on the board, Newcastle have not had a settled spine all year long.
Literally, Piner, a fullback. That's
Sharp at 5'8", but then you've had the problem. You've had Tyson Gamble, you've had Jack Cogger, you have had Phoenix Crossland, Jaden Brayley, all of them floating in and out of the starting halfback and dummy half positions. We are now 12 rounds into the competition. We're at the 3-month mark. They haven't settled on anything in those two key positions. And they're trying to distract with Dylan Brown and that he's going to be the answer at halfback. Of course he's not.
No. They need what? Dylan Brown, when he comes in, he needs to really work well, I think, with KP. And another one, they need a half set where one is the kicker, one's the runner. They don't have that at the moment. They're both kind of one or the other.
I don't know what Newcastle has at the moment because they've got nothing.
Another wooden spoon
No,
heading their way.
genuinely, they've got nothing. Parramatta have something at least at the moment. This Knights team just scraped into the finals in the last 2 years.
Just.
They are in a deeper hole than what they were just last year when they scraped into the top 8. I don't know where I said last week, I don't know where they're going to go from here, but nothing has worked.
No,
It is all blown up in this space. They aren't even generate a try. They've only scored 1 try in 2 weeks in back-to-back halves. The second half of that loss to the Titans and that whole first half against the Eels, they didn't score a single point.
No.
And even with Penrith missing basically their entire attacking infrastructure, all their organisation, all their points generation, I think there's more likelihood that you could get 3 tries out of Penrith with that
easy.
spine exactly the way it's set up at the moment.
It's a given. It's an absolute given. The Knights, look, I know Titans are bad, but I do, as the season progresses on and the Knights getting worse and worse each week, Knights could potentially end up with a spoon.
If other results go against them, that's always the big.
Oh,
big
absolutely. But the rate they're going, whew,
I have no justification for picking the Newcastle Knights.
No.
I cannot find one solid reason to think that they might stand a chance against an origin-depleted Penrith outfit.
the question is when, not if, for Adam O'Brien. When,
Well, it is.
not if. There's been no talk about it, but it's due to happen.
It is honestly beyond on me. I think at the moment, I just think even with Brad Schneider coming in for Nathan Cleary, I still think he can generate more tries than Jack Cogger could at this point in time.
Against his old club too.
I just think they'll just try and keep it simple, win the ruck, kick long. That's why I think Penrith that's all they really need to do. Because they know they can get good mileage out of Dane Laurie at fullback, Paul
He's
Anamotti
quick.
up against Fletcher Hunt, even though, they'll try and use him as more as an aerial threat if they even get close.
If they get close, that's a big if.
I don't think they'll even get close on that.
No.
I've got no other option but to go with the Penrith Panthers winning 7-12. I just think being origin depleted, they still have enough to beat the Newcastle Knights.
Oh,
That's just-
absolutely they do. They've still got like the likes of Moses Leota there, Mitch Kenny there, Blaze Talungi. Like they've still got some players that have been there pretty much all year.
And coming off the bye also helps Penrith's case as well. They would have had that week off, refreshed, 5 guys going to Origin, a couple of other guys left out of the picture at the moment, like Luke Garner and Isaiah Papali'i, which I think is intentional. And then they'll just go forward from there.
Yeah.
It's just Penrith.
Penrith 13 to 20 for me. The Knights have got nothing in attack.
That is true. I genuinely don't think they've got anything to work
So
with
you
at the
saying
moment.
Penrith 7 to 12, I think is a bit lenient. So I'm going with 13 to 20 for Penrith to win.
From west of the Blue Mountains at Carrington Park to the central coast of New South Wales, with the Sydney Roosters once again taking a game to Gosford, this time hosting the very impressive Cronulla Sharks side, it has to be said. At this stage, Jesse Rainier is a questionable selection at the moment because he sustained an eye injury in that 31-26 win over the Melbourne Storm. Sam Stonestreet set to be brought up for up to 2 months with a syndesmosis injury. Mawene Horodi will now come onto the right wing with Teague Wilton in the extended squad, hoping to try and push his way back in after being out for some time for Craig Fitzgibbon.
Okay, Roosters, they've got players out due to Origin, which is absolutely no surprise there. So Dom Young, Makahisi Makatoa, Salisi Folketti, Benaya Iolu, and Taylor Osalu are all into 17 with Dom Young on the win with moves. I'm not even going to pronounce his name.
Mark Nawaka-Nidawase.
Thank you. He's going to the centre to replace a surprise debutant for Queensland and Robert Toia. Nat Butcher returns from a knee injury, and Ioliu makes his NRL debut from the bench. Ethan Kins, 18th player, and Toby and Thomas Rodwell are part of the extended bench.
Now, this is an interesting game, I think, for both the Sydney Roosters and the Cronulla Sharks, because the Sharks, how are their energy levels going to be after they were able to outlast the Melbourne Storm in the fashion that they did?
It was a cracking game day, don't get me wrong.
It was very impressive. Adam Fanua-Blake steamrolling through the middle, and they got good impact out of CSC for Talakai at the back end as well to really put the Sharks in front.
They had what? Stone Street out with injury.
A very capable replacement with Mawene Hiroti, and you'd think Dan Atkinson might slide into the centres.
Even during the game day, like Talakai went bang off into the centres or wherever. Like they had the coverage there.
And that's going to be the other thing as well. You got Dom Young finally recalled to the side after a reserve grade exile due to his not fitting the quote Roosters way. How do you think he's going to respond now that he's been recalled?
He will want to make a statement, obviously, to try and stay in that side. But the rate that Robert Toei has been playing this season, he's only 10 games in, but he's been absolutely killing it. The Roosters, though, I think they're going to struggle. They've got Crichton out, Watson out, Collins out, White out, Toei out, and Lenu out. 6 players out.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's not about who's out. It's about the fact of who's still in at this point.
And the quality
James
of players.
Tedesco, still in at this point.
That is true.
Sandon Smith, Hugo Savala, still in at the halves, forming a very strong combination. Victor Radley, ball playing out the back. Nat Butcher coming back in as a big one. So that's an extra leader in that Roosters forward pack with some very capable hands like Egan Butcher, Siwa Wong, going up against a very imposing Sharks outfit. And I will say, I know it's just one game after they beat the Melbourne Storm, but I mean, if you beat the Melbourne Storm any time...
But it wasn't in Melbourne, no, but still.
The fact that they beat Melbourne when it mattered most.
And what was it at half time? 25 to something?
Yeah, it was pretty tight, somewhere around the 25 to 12 mark.
Yeah.
They clocked off the Sharks. That was probably the concerning thing. And if you clock off, you're going to give the Roosters a bit of a sniff, if right here.
Yeah. Can I just mention something? What about that try from Mark?
Oh,
Marky Mark.
Nawaka-Nidawase. I could not believe he scored that. Genuinely, I could not believe he absolutely scored that. He kicked it off his left foot his right foot was already airborne, so he kicks it off the left foot.
Whilst hopping in the air.
Yeah, he was almost halfway back to Bondi Junction and where he was. Chases through and manages the ground and the in goal. This is like,
Try
what?
That is try of the year right there. Award it now.
Well, I mean,
I don't think anything will go close to that.
that will honestly be the other top 9 tries in the top 10 will just all be filler, no matter what happens from that point. And he's going to be right at the top. And you know what? That will be at the Dally M Awards night. That's going to be the Peter Ferlingos headline moment of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't think that's even been the return of the Bears. That's already just done. He's just done it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's
Mind
too
you-
massive up yours to Rugby Australia as well.
I was going to say, if I'm going from rugby for how many years, playing his first time in rugby league, and to produce that.
And he's on a cut price deal as well, so that makes it even better for the Roosters. So it's sort of like, oh yeah, we got a bargain.
Bloody oath. Look, I was a bit hesitant about him coming in the league, but he's proven me wrong.
I think he's really winning over a huge legion of fans.
Absolutely.
So there is still plenty of room, and we know that the Sharks are not exactly Melbourne or Penrith or Canterbury at this point in time. They can still get tripped up in games like this. But I think if you've got Adam Fanua-Blake still in from the front, because that's going to be the big thing. If Nikora, Fanua-Blake, and Hamlin Uele own the middle, then all the Sharks have to do is play fast out the back with Nico Hines getting enough room to work with. That's just going to be the big thing.
And they're on a roll too, the Sharks. I think they've won the last 5.
And I'm not sure where the Roosters' heads are at the moment after they blew that lead against the Dogs. That's the other big thing too.
Yeah, but the Dogs have done that to multiple other teams, not just the Roosters.
It's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be very entertaining, but I do see a scenario where the Sharks forwards just bully the middle. And like I said, I think that they have a better shot at clamping down on James Tedesco than we did in the first half.
Okay.
So I'm going to say the Sharks win 1-6.
I'm going to go to the opposite side of the park for you. James Tedesco will again steer that side to a victory. A narrow victory, let's just say. A Roosters 1-6 victory.
And finally, Sunday afternoon, we're off to Auckland as the New Zealand Warriors host the Canberra Raiders in what should be an entertaining top 4 showdown.
Absolutely. There's not really that many changes for Canberra with Hudson Young out with Origin. So Simi Sasagi moves to the starting side. And Noah Martin joining the bench for his NRL debut. Otherwise, same Canberra side that's been going very nicely this season.
Meantime, the Warriors have made a few changes of their own. Bunty Afoa and Jackson Ford are both back in the front row, one returning from concussion in Jackson Ford's case. Of course, Mitch Barnett gone to Origin, whilst James Fisher-Harris has copped a 1-game suspension after in his return game against the Dolphins. And the only other addition is that Ale Leotawa is listed amongst the reserves as he's looking to return from an ankle injury he picked up back in round 8. But nevertheless, apart from swapping out the front rowers, we've got ourselves a massive top 4 showdown here.
Potential finals preview, I reckon.
You always say that, and every time I bring that up, you bring up that potential final.
It is. It is. Second versus third on the ladder?
Actually, I'm not sure where about.
It's
I know the
second versus-
Warriors would actually be sitting second on the
It's
ladder at the
second
moment.
versus third on the ladder. Trust me on this one. New Zealand on a Sunday afternoon for us, well, obviously for them as well. A rare Channel 9 game for them at home, which is unheard of unless it's finals. I'm going to say this now. Game of the round right here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say the best game to last.
Honestly, I couldn't disagree. This is their first meeting since returning from Las Vegas. So it's been a long wait
time
for Andrew Webster's men. Finally, they got Canberra right where they want them. Probably not on the ladder at the moment with that big 40-24 win they had over the Gold Coast Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But they got them right where they want them for a little bit of Vegas revenge.
Absolutely.
But I'm a little bit wary because the Warriors are amongst only 2 sides that have not dropped a home game yet.
So you reckon they could drop a home game?
Corey Horsburgh got overlooked for State of Origin. We'll touch on that shortly. I reckon
True.
Big Red is going to fire up.
Unless he
Overlooked
doesn't
for
get
State
himself
of
sin
Origin.
binned.
I'm looking at the back lines at the moment. These are two exciting backline battles we're looking at right here, with some of the form players of the Premiership on show. Kyle Weeks versus Chance Nickel-Klugstad. Then you got Luke Metcalf, Jamal Fogarty. Two contrasting styles of playing halfback. Whereas you got Fogarty, the meticulous playmaker who can put up spiral bombs to really put the back three under pressure. You got a running halfback in Luke Metcalf, who's really started the game management, upping it.
Absolutely.
He's up the ante in his game management to a point where he's really got the Warriors humming. And the forward pack battle, even without the big names on the edges and in the middle, this is still a worthy battle.
It's pretty much all the matchups we just said. There's pretty much the whole team matching up against one another. Is just going to be absolutely battle and within battle.
It's going to be really close to call because I can make a case either way.
So can I. But I have gone with the Warriors. Warriors at home. They're very rarely drop a game at home.
They haven't dropped a game at home all year.
Just in general, not just in 2025. They very rarely drop games. The home crowd will be exceptional, like it always is.
Yeah, I think you'd sell a crowd of 25,000.
Absolutely. I'm gonna say Warriors win this one 1-6 in a very, very tight game. Game of the round.
I look at the Warriors, and they have been very good. Defensively, they've been very sound too. They know they can win big. They can win in a scrap as well. Leka Halasima is going to have a field day against a Murata Niokore is going to have a field day against Simi Sasami because you've got two different types of back rower.
Mm-hmm.
One who's technically a half by trade versus an actual purebred back rower.
Yep.
I'm looking at that Canberra right edge and I'm thinking they could either come up with so many errors that Ricky could throw a chair across the Tasman back to Canberra, or if Kyle Weeks gets a little bit of a sniff as he did, like the Titans last week, he really found holes in and around the Titans' left side defensively. He put Xavier Savage away, he put Matt Timoko away. He just found room in and around the right-hand side to really open the game up for Canberra in the second half in particular. And Corey Horsburgh, like I said, he will have a point to prove after being overlooked for Origin. I'm going to go for a bit of an upset here. I think Jamal Fogarty will bomb the Warriors into the submission, and I think they're going to do a double. I'm going to go Canberra, and I think they win 1-6, just the back forward strength alone, and I just think the Raiders have too much speed out wide, even for a big, well, I should say, even for a fast Warriors back five, including like I said, with Tenny Zalesniak, Tuivasa Sheck, Nickel Klugstad, and Luke Metcalf. I'm going to say the Raiders is close in on second place.
Interesting matchup, but like I said, it's going around by far.
Now, over the course of the last 2 days, the State of Origin sides for Game 1 at Suncorp Stadium in Brisbane have been announced. So, Laurie Daly, in his first match in charge since the 2017 series failure, has gone with Dylan Edwards at fullback. He has gone Brian Toto and Zach Lomax on the wings. The centres of Stephen Crichton and Latrell Mitchell. A halves combination of Mitchell Moses and Nathan Cleary. In the forwards, he has the captain Isaiah Yo locking down the scrum with Liam Martin and Angus Crichton lining up alongside him. And up front, it's Mitch Barnett, Reece Robson and Payne Haas, with Connor Watson, Spencer Lenu, Hudson Young and Max King making up the bench.
Billy Slater for the Queensland Maroons side, had to be professional here, has gone with Kalen Ponder at fullback, Xavier Coates and Valentine Holmes on the wing, with debutant Robert Toya, at centre alongside Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. Cam Munster and Daly Cherry Evans, who's also the captain in the halves. lock, we've got Paddy Carrigan, who's obviously free to play after getting plastic surgery from busted lip. Ruben Cotter and Jeremiah Nane alongside him, with Mo Fodawaker, Harry Grant at dummy half, and Tino Fa'asuamaleaui also up front. With Tom Dearden, Lindsay Collins, Bo Fermel, and Trent Luero all coming from the bench.
A couple of surprises from both sides, if I'm quite frank.
Let's just say with New South Wales, Max King is a bit of a surprise.
Ultimately, we would have thought Terrell May. I know some people have had issues and taken that live stream comment out of context, or just not,
Media.
or they did see the full live stream and they just decided to
Ignore it.
create a smear campaign against Terrell May.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it's pretty close. Both sides are pretty much close to what we had in mind.
Yeah, but like I said, Robert Toia is a surprise inclusion. Only been playing 10 NRL games before getting selected to Origin. The last player to do that was Payne Haas.
For the Blues
What a
started
Blues.
the 2019 series under Brad Fittler.
That is correct. Who's another surprise there? Bo Fermel.
No, I think he's earned it.
He's earned it though.
Yeah,
But
I think.
still a bit of a surprise inclusion though. And Trent Liera, he's also absolutely deserves it.
Yes, I think his transition to lock forward in the last couple of seasons has really benefited that transition as well. Otherwise, I think incumbency has really won it out in the end. I think Mitchell Moses, Zach Lomax, they couldn't really be overlooked for New South Wales, considering they were both big parts in games 2 and 3 for the big win up in Brisbane. Of course, Daly Cherry Evans, even a couple of the questionable ones, I think, with the Titans and the Cowboys representatives as well. But then again, I think it was a question of who else really was in form at the moment.
That is true.
A little bit, to be honest, I'm a little bit disappointed Jaden Stewart didn't get picked. I thought he was playing a lot better footy than...
Maybe Queensland don't want him to drop the ball over the try line.
Or maybe they just don't understand Origin.
Well, no.
But Game 1, Suncorp Stadium, is Billy Slater under pressure?
Yes. Simple yes.
It's a little bit surprising because this is now his 3rd year in charge.
And he's only won one Origin series on debut.
2-1. He's 2-1 in the Origin arena, but that last series, especially losing in Brisbane, has really stunned the QRL community, don't you think?
Absolutely. I know it's a different ball game, well, as well, but could New South Wales do a double in Queensland after the women's won in Game 1?
Well, it'll be interesting to see where it starts, and thankfully, there's a lot of injury concerns as well. I think Payne Haas, Stephen Crichton said to be fit for this one.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of niggles coming into it, but I think we'll all expect they'll be ready to go come 8 o'clock on Wednesday. In 8 days' time, no
8 days'
less.
time, yeah, it's not that far away. It's going to be an interesting matchup, but I'm going to say I think New South Wales have got the edge.
Well, of course, we're going to say New South Wales has got the edge. We're New South Welshmen. We always say we've got the edge.
True. But I'm surprised that Laurie Daly has gone with a somewhat mostly the same team as what Michael Maguire had. I thought there would have been a lot more changes, but he's proven me wrong.
I think the big concern was, dating back to 3 years ago, was they were going to pick all the Penrith players and all of a sudden Queensland just find a way to win the series out of nothing. That was going to be the main concern, but I think forward battles evened up getting Tino back. I think they missed Tino last year, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
In the middle of the field. Of the likes of Lindsay Collins and that, I think it's just a sign of confidence just to say, all right, even though you probably hadn't had a good start club form, or your team's winning, or even your personal form, I pick you, they'll just elevate. Everyone elevates when they get picked for Origin. But I think for Max King, it's a good patient reward for hard work and finding a place. Because remember, he was contemplating walking away from the game at one point, right?
Yep.
So to be rewarded with a state of origin berth on the interchange, I think he is a good testament of what hard work can do when it does eventually pay off. Even though he's not the flashiest front rower in the game, and your Payne Haas's, your Anthony Blakes, your James Fisher-Harris, Harris is, he doesn't have to be the flashiest.
No.
He just has to work hard, punch hard holes through the middle, which he does.
Yep. Absolutely. And he thoroughly deserves the spot.
I think his work rate's really gotten him awarded in there. And the Bulldogs, we love him at Canterbury. We love our king.
Yeah. Literally the king. The only king that you guys have at the moment.
As for some of the other selections, Hudson Young, yep, well-deserved, another recall. Hopefully this time he can actually stay for the whole series and not be used inappropriately.
That would be nice. That would be very nice indeed, because we know what he's capable of as well. He's Origin material.
Mitchell Moses playing alongside Nathan Cleary, I think.
Well, we didn't get to see. We didn't get to see that last year.
There was that big conversation, right, at the start of the year, before the injuries. Would it be Cleary or would it be Moses that get named at halfback? Not just 5'8".
Halfback.
Yeah, because you could say if Moses wasn't injured throughout the whole first half of the year, he would have been New South Wales halfback, no questions asked.
Absolutely he would be.
Because he was the incumbent. And, of course, the foot injury complicated things. Nathan Cleary, even though individually he might have been playing well, Penrith weren't.
No.
And sometimes club form does hurt. Otherwise,
it should be a good combination. I think Cleary will do most of the kicking and Moses will do most of the running. But when you look at it, though, we do have some... if we have goal kickers going in, we've got Dylan Edwards, Steve Crichton, Latrell Mitchell, Zach Lomax, Mitch Moses, Nathan Cleary. We've got 6 options to goal kick.
Yeah, and the fact as well that we also got all the captains pop Oswald, like we got Stephen Crichton, he's the Canterbury captain, Mitchell Moses, captain out of Penrith, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo, Mitch Barnett, all captains at Penrith and the Warriors respectively. It's sort of like, how many captains do we actually need as well?
Multiple?
Of this great luxury that we can name. And even on the Queensland stuff, I think, Kalen Ponga, the Newcastle captain, Daly Cherry Evans, he's the Manly captain, Tino Fasua Malawi, Howie Grant, Ruben Cotter. So you got Gold Coast, Melbourne, North Queensland captain or co-captains, all named in their respect. Oh, Tom Dearden, he's the other co-captain of North Queensland. So it's sort of like, but won't have any trouble for leadership, and Tino's leadership in the forwards will be the big one. I
personally think, though, if something does happen to anyone in the whole New South Wales squad, we've got the depth. Whereas Queensland, I don't think, have the depth if something goes wrong.
If in the event we don't upload next week's show in good time before kickoff for Game 1, we will actually do a State of Origin Game 1 prediction right here, right now. Queensland love a good ambush in Game 1, especially in Brisbane, and they do not want to lose back-to-back matches in the Cauldron. That would really get Billy Slater's coaching career at Origin level into question.
That'll be absolutely hilarious if they do.
It's a big ask, and there's going to be good aerial battles. I can imagine Laurie will be developing strategies to try and outleap Xavier Coates, because you know Lomax and Coates will be trying to compete for who can score the more spectacular try off a kick.
Yeah.
Crichton versus the Hammer. Now, that's a mouth-watering battle.
Absolutely. I think Crichton will have the edge, though.
Defensively, you say?
Probably more attack than defensively, but we know what they are both very capable of, and obviously they're capable enough to be playing in State of Origin.
It's going to be a cracker of a game, but I think...
When isn't Origin going to be a cracker of a game?
Yeah,
to be brutally honest with you.
I think it's going to come down to the kicking games. I think the halves... I think Mitchell Moses gives an extra edge on top of his kicking game, because he can kick long just as well as anyone else in the Premiership. Right? Yeah. And we know he's going to be trying those crossfield ones for both Zach Lomax and for Brian Toto, trying to get that good cutout pass going as well.
Well, let's just say there'll be the Moses-Lomax combination that we used to send Parramatta and the Toto-Cleary combination. Done.
For me, though, I think New South Wales win 1-6. It's going to be Moses' running game that's really going to get Queensland on the back foot. I think you start Moses running. He's going to bring Crichton onto the ball. He's going to bring Latrell Mitchell onto the ball. And if he brings Latrell onto the ball, as bad as sometimes we think he hasn't really been playing, you get that left edge going with Latrell, Toto, Crichton, Moses, and then you get the crossfield kicking in there at opportunities as well. For me, it's the Blues. Set up a good win. and then on the Perth.
which would generally play well away from home. Well, in neutral venues. Look, Blues win this one. You know what? I'm going to stretch the margin out and say 7-12 on the lower end of it, but I'll push it out to 7-12. I just think we've got that better attack and defence than what Queensland have.
All right, you heard all the news, you heard all the matchups. Leave your thoughts down in the comment section down below. We'll be right back with round 12 of the Betfred Super League, not too far away.